stack a full piece right on top of it. So this is the mortar we're going to be using. This stuff is very sticky. It's upside down just because it's the wire holding these three pieces together. So I got this 7-foot piece of granite I gotta pick up by myself. Oh man. But if you can point it at the same time, that mortar underneath is going to lock itself in through all the... Good morning, everyone. Today's Friday, June 7th, 2024. It is time to stone veneer this stoop. Didn't work here yesterday because it was just raining off and on all day, and I took the time to just do some other stuff. I cleaned the job site up a bit, got the skid steer out of here, all the plywood, all the tools that I didn't need. Left myself with just one wheelbarrow and all the things that I need to do stone veneer and granite caps. The pad on top cured up nice. It's still curing obviously, but 3 7-inch steps now. This is going to be difficult to stone veneer the sides, so I'm probably going to be starting over here just so I can walk up and over. Got the veneer laid out. If you haven't seen the previous video how we got to where we are, there's a link in the description below. But everything's good and ready for us to put these veneer panels on. You got to do a little research to find out, but these used to be made by a manufacturer called Northeast Masonry. I believe they were bought out and it's a new manufacturer, but they're doing the same thing now. And what they have is 3 different sizes that all work together to create a nice pre-manufactured stone veneer panels. And we have 3 pieces here that all work together to create, you know, projects like this, or stone veneering the face of something. In our case, we need these corner pieces, which have a long side, short side. They also have the interlocking tabs on both sides. These are the full panels right here. This is a full piece with the interlocking tabs. And when you start on the bottom of something, the half pieces are what gives you the interlocking part to get yourself going. Once you've got that small piece interlocking with a full piece, you stack a full piece right on top of it, and that's what gives you the interlocking. Then beside that, you'll be able to put another full piece right here. Also be able to lock another full piece into that, basically just like that. And the corners lock into the half pieces and full pieces just the same. On just a big open application, it's much easier and this goes much quicker. But with steps, there's still some customizing you have to do, and I'll explain that as we get into the video. got that first step covered and the corners going back. Sometimes these panels are hit or miss with how fragile they are. A couple of those were really fragile, but those little pieces that break and seem like they're all going to separate, once you put the mortar on it and seal the top of it and lock it all together, it's just fine. Just like anything really in the manufacturer, you got people that are putting it together who are really good at what they do. Some people aren't as good, but there's going to be a lot of times where, you know, something like this right here, these pieces break during transit. That can happen on the truck, but they're still together. And then once you get that specialized mortar on the back of these and you stick them to the block, and then again when you'll see when I mortar these, we seal the top of them and lock everything together. So this is the mortar we're going to be using. It's made by Ardex X77, and this is for vertical applications like stone veneer, microfiber, reinforced, thin set tile and stone mortar. If you're familiar with Ardex, you know how good their products are. Just a small corded drill, and we got the little mixing paddle there. So after I cut those pieces that are there, you see me rinse them off with the sponge and water. You want to get all the dust off to make sure that the application is going to be nice. I washed the cinder blocks off yesterday, so there's no dust on them. That's that consistency you want right there. This stuff is very sticky. It's upside down, it's holding on. Bring our wash bucket with us, and we're gonna just start right on the corner over here. Hi, buddy. You got a tractor?
Yeah, he wants to show you like new.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
That's cool. Have fun with your tractor, buddy.
Thank you.
This right here is a small piece. So what I'm gonna do here, and you can see this one's set in a little bit, so we're gonna want to put a little bit more mortar on this one than the other piece. If you're wondering why I use these panels a little more than just regular veneer, it's literally because of time. People have a hard time justifying the cost of what actual stone veneer costs just because of the labor. It's not a cheap thing because of how labor intensive it is. Stonework in general. Plus the material's not cheap. But this stuff, these panels, make it so you can get in and out of a install much quicker, saving the customer money. That's why. Alright. Jeez. So even though it seems like it's fragile, just because it's the wire holding these three pieces together. But once you get it on there, you can see this mortar seeping out. That's what you want. That's how you know the back of the piece is completely adhered. So as you can see, the backs and tops are sealed up nice. No water's gonna get behind there. Have to make a small little sliver cut there, but this is gonna be a full piece cut. I'm gonna do that, get those pieces in there, but then I gotta work on this corner right here. I gotta wrap it around, and then I gotta fill in this space, hop up to the next corner, and then I can get this whole side done. And I want to do that before I move to the other side. 6:04. I started the stone veneer this morning at 8:30. So 8 to 6 would be 10, so 9.5 hours. But the stone veneer is done. And unlike my block measurement, my stone veneer measurement was on point. Got one extra panel. Usually that Ardex 77 is gray. My material provider, Kamasi, only had white this time. Not a huge deal, but when you kind of get it in between the joints and stuff, you got to clean it up good or else that white pops out, because the mortar they use is gray. But I had a decent amount left in the last batch I made, so I just spread it out on the stairs, filled in the low spots from trimming them down, and locked that geogrid in nice. But there's not much stone veneer out there that you're going to be able to finish a set of steps like this in one day with one guy. There may be some of you guys out there that can do it, that do this stuff every day and have nice stone veneer they work with. But typically this isn't going to get done in a day with just regular stone veneer. It's a lot of cutting, a lot of setting. And typically you'd have two guys. You'd have a guy making mortar for you, or two guys cutting and setting. With a two-man crew, maybe you get a set of steps like this done in a day with regular veneer, but it would be just as long of a day as I put in. Did a lot of the small cuts and stuff off camera. Steps like this is a perfect example of why you don't give a stone veneer price per square foot, because every job or project you go to do stone veneer, the variables can change. These two big Alberta spruces being in my way really took a lot of time out of my day, because they just were tough to work around. And those were where I had to do a lot of my cuts on the corners and everything, and it was just a pain in the butt, to be honest with you. So this stone veneer can set over the weekend. Like I said, today's Friday, and then Monday I'm hoping Ben will be back with me and we can throw the granite caps and pattern stock and finish this all up on Monday. That's the goal. There's a lot of stone styles that I prefer, but again, this is an awesome solution to provide a customer with stone veneer at a lower cost. So let me know in the comments below what you think. I think it's a good product for the value. But I'll see you guys Monday when we get back here. Good morning, guys. It is Monday, June 10th now. The veneer did set up good all over the weekend. Nice and stiff, and still no Ben. Ben's gonna be back tomorrow, hopefully. So I got this 7-foot piece of granite I gotta pick up by myself and set by myself. I just set it up on a couple blocks of wood for now. I'm gonna try to pick it up and bring it up there and put it on the wood that I have set up on the steps, at which point I'll be able to just kind of shift it, move it around, and when I get the mortar ready, I'll be able to just pick it up and drop it in place pretty easy. Let's see here if I can do it. I did already kind of do a little test lift. It wasn't horrible. Oh man, that's heavy. Jeez. That's all I get to say. That was heavy. That, sir, was heavy. Dropped it right on the plant. I don't recommend doing that. I'm just gonna slide it over, kind of get it a little bit closer to being in place. 7-foot piece, 2 inches thick, 12 inches deep. And like I said, now when I'm up here, once I get the mortar ready, I can just kind of straddle it like this and just pick it up, put it into place. Here's the mortar we're going to use for the granite. Ardex X32 Microtech. Microfiber reinforced thin to thick bed mortar. The 32 is meant for horizontal applications, and the 77 I use for the veneer is meant for vertical. I don't know exactly the differences, but that 77 is really sticky, and this 32 bonds like crazy. Once the set is wow. Once the step is set on this stuff, forget about it. So I'm gonna mix up a batch, just like I did the veneer mortar in the bucket with my drill. Alright, we put a little thin coat on the bottom, and then all these little channels of mortar are relatively the same width, length, thickness, and the consistency is pretty wet. And we want that so that once we lay that granite on it, all these will spread out and mesh into each other and create a nice seal. But at that point, you can set it into the right position, where if you were to try to make a flat bed of it, it's a little bit more difficult, and then sometimes you can have like a little bit of an air pocket when you do that, which isn't good for, you know, setting a piece of granite like this. Here we go. I gotta make sure I got it balanced right. No, not quite. Definitely isn't centered, but I'll be able to move it. Definitely needs to come out over here more. Now we want to check our square with the house. It's 34 1/4, 33 7/8. Try to get it to 34 even. Both sides. That's 34. That's 34. Now we need the level. Oh man, that is so freaking perfect. Just a touch over 1/8 from the brickwork. That's awesome. It's level. So I'm just gonna set it just a little bit. Make sure that's good still. Whoops. Okay, now let me show you guys what I mean about the mortar. There's no gaps. It all spread out and dispersed evenly. As you can see in the front, I'm gonna have to do some cleaning up. That's just the way it goes. But it's all coming out. All the gaps in the front here. So now I'm gonna use my pointed trowel, clean that up, seal it up, and then sponge off any of the mortar that got on the stones. It's all protected from water getting underneath the tread, which is usually the main problem. If one of your treads comes loose on your steps, it's because water's getting underneath it. And then in the winter, when it freezes, it lifts up on the tread and separates it from the mortar bed. I usually just take it one step at a time. Lay one down, point it, sponge it, make sure it's good, and then move on to the next one. For me right now, the next ones are going to be the cuts, the returns going to the house, and inside those treads is what we're going to use our 1-inch thick pattern stock for. So I need to get that top set in so that these 3 pieces can set for a while, and then I can do the landing. And once the landing's done, the last 2 things will be the bottom steps. 34 even. Now when you make this cut, we're going for 1/2 inch joint lines on top of the landing, so we need a 1/2 inch off of each side. So 34 is going to become 33. Just going to cut it right here. Those top 3 pieces are nice and set, all washed up around the edges, pointed, and the sun is beating on them, which is good. That Ardex sets up pretty quickly, at least quick enough where I can get up there and work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get some Type S mortar, because that's what we're going to be setting these in. You don't really necessarily need like a microfiber reinforced mortar for the inside. Those capstones are going to lock everything together really nice and tight. And we're going to need about 1.25 inches of mortar underneath these pieces. So that Ardex would be very expensive to use. So Type S mortar would be fine for the middle. Plus, that's what we use to point all the joints on top of the landing, in between the treads. I am back. Got to kind of lay out these pieces of pattern stock. If you don't know, that's what that's called. The pieces that are basically like pavers, at least around here in Massachusetts, we call it pattern stock. It's because there's so many different sizes you can get and make so many different patterns out of it. And these pieces for the steps are called treads. They're 2 inches thick. You can get them either split face, which means they're just hydraulically split and they're more just like straight with texture, or rock faced. These are rock faced, and they have like spots that come out more than others, and it's because they were chiseled outwards instead of just split straight up and down. This was some extra mortar I had in the batch I made. That's already pretty hard. And this mortar that the steps were set in is hard also. Not 100% set, but they are hard, so we can set the pattern stock no problem. On the brick over there, down the side to the front piece, and we got a touch over an 1/8 slope. It's going to be perfect for water runoff, not going to have any issues. So in the middle there is just under 5 feet, and it's just over, or no, just under 3 feet this way. So I got two 18-inch by 36-inch pieces and two 18-inch by 24-inch pieces. Typically when you get pattern stock, when they say 18, it's going to be a 1/2 inch less, 17.5, and that accounts for a 1/2 inch mortar joint both ways. The first two that I put in up against the front tread there, I may end up having to shave like a 1/2 inch or so off of one side, and then the back pieces I'm going to have to shave off the back sides. But what I'm going to do is put a 3 foot next to a 2 foot, and then stagger it on the next one. I'll put the 3 foot up in the other corner and the 2 foot there, and that'll stagger the joint line in the middle. So that's 23 3/4. I'm gonna go 23 3/4 is the measurement. So what that means is I need to take an inch off of that. I need 22 3/4 for the actual piece, which gives me a 1/2 inch on each side. I like to try to get as many of the cuts done as I can before I make any mortar. So we need 22 3/4. Sweet. That looks good. Now we gotta make our back cuts. So now we're gonna use the other 3 foot piece and put it from here this way. We got 15 3/4. I'm gonna play it as 15 7/8 and take an inch off that, which gives me 14 7/8. 7/8. Okay, and then the next one I'm gonna have to cut the back and the side. Should be the same distance. It's 59 3/4. That's the same measurement. So I'm just going to copy this measurement here, which is 22 3/4. So I'm gonna start with this front piece, back left, back right, and end with this piece. Reason being is then I can get in here, put my foot here, and still work on the whole area. When I set this one last, I can point it from right here. It's always good to get the stone wet too, so if you spill any mortar, it's less likely to stain it. Said before, this granite is 1 inch thick. We can kind of use our level to get a decent idea where we are. It's 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. That's 1 inch, 1.1/8, 1.1/8. Alright, so now that we're really close, what I'm basically going to do is like what I did with the steps. Make lines of mortar so that I can set it in, keep it up just a little higher and set it into place. Once it starts coming up too much out of the joints, it's going to be really hard to hit it down low. So you basically have to go through and get everything that's coming out of the way so you can keep hammering it. The good thing about doing that is you know you're getting a really good seal on the bottom of the pattern stock. You can see all that stuff I took out. Now there's room for more to come out of the way. One thing I really like to make sure I do on step projects like this is to point the joints on the pattern stock at the same time as I lay it. Sometimes if you do a big area with pattern stock, you have to lay it and then point it another day. But if you can point it the same time, that mortar underneath is going to lock itself in through all the joints, and it just holds a lot stronger and will last a lot longer. Top landing is done. Looks mint. All the measurements came out really good. Obviously the edges are a little wet, and that mortar is gonna dry to lighten up much lighter gray than it is now. Worked out really good. And she is flat. I'll tell you that. So I have a batch of Ardex made up. It's time to set that step right there. Get to pick up this piece of granite by myself again. 2 more to go. I gotta lay them in Ardex, joint underneath, point the joints underneath it, and then I have to point the joint behind it. And I'll be pointing the joint behind it with type S to match the joints on the top of the landing. All this extra Ardex I had from all the other batches, I filled in the low gaps if you watch the block work video, and it helped lock all this geogrid in. And now this mortar is going to adhere to this, some pieces of this geogrid, and it's all going to be really firm. It's about 3:15 right now, so probably got another couple hours, hour and a half, couple hours to finish this up and pack up and get out of here. But then I will be done, and I'm really excited about that. I didn't think I was gonna be able to finish this by myself with having to set the big treads, but making it happen. Time to do it again. Alright, it's all about getting the right balance here. The form wasn't the greatest, guys, but it's in there. That was not the greatest form. That was heavy. 1/8 of an inch high in the back. Got a little bit of Ardex on the walkway there. Looks lined up good on each side. Everything on it's good except a little bit too much slope. You can see that's about 1/8 inch too high in the back, and the back's not going to go down, so it's not really an issue of there being too much mortar in the back. The issue is we need to put a little bit more mortar in the front. The only way to do that really right now is to wedge it up a little bit and point some mortar underneath. Maybe I could do it with the wood. It is so hard to get this to move when you have Ardex under it. If I had 2 guys, I'd just pick it back up again, put some mortar, and put it back down, but this is gonna be the best bet. for myself. Once I take that wood out, set it back down, it's gonna re-adhere, no problem. That's gonna work. Nice, a little high in the front, so I can set it into place here. Make sure it's back as far as it can go. Slightly more than an eighth. I'm happy with that. The bottom can be pointed with the Ardex because there's really no point in digging Ardex out, so you can put Type S in. But these back joints, I want to match the top joints with the same mortar. All packed up, guys, ready to go. Steps are done. They came out mint. You can see the top joints are already starting to cure pretty nice. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Those 7-foot pieces of granite were very heavy. Very happy with that result. Very, very happy. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I'm gonna go back. They got their shed pretty much 90% done and in for that pad that we built, if you've been following along. Very cool, man. It all just fits together on the sides. They didn't have to do any like hardware or anything like that. All those corners just joined together, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Very nice. Wish you could smell it through this camera. Smells beautiful. Glad that worked out nice for him. But as always, I love hearing from you guys in the comment section, what you think about it, any kind of feedback. It's all welcome. I appreciate it. And thank you for watching this video. If you are not subscribed and you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. Like the video if you enjoyed it. But you guys already know the deal. Until the next one, God bless. Peace.